Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah amma ba'd. So let's continue from where we left off last time. We're covering Surah Fatiha and we're going through the grammatical analysis. Last week we completed Iyyaka na'budu. Okay, this is where we got up to, and then we're going to continue with the next bit, which is wa iyyaka nasta'in. Wa iyyaka nasta'inu. So just to remind ourselves is that we did iyyaka, which is a combination of iyyaka is a combination of what? Particles, Sadia. Very correct. Well done. And which are the two particles in iyyaka? Yeah. So ka and iyya. Alright? So iyya is one particle and ka is this other one. What does iyya mean? So what does iyya mean? I didn't say iyyaka, I said iyya. Alone. Good. So iyya is alone and ka? You. Very good. If I want to say he alone, I say Iyyahu. So remember we do the same. Iyyahu, he alone. Iyyahum, they alone. Iyyaka, you alone. Iyyakum, all you alone. Iyyaya, I alone. And iyyana, we alone. Okay? So that was iyyaka, you alone. And then we did, this was the first verb that we covered that is actually mentioned in Surah Fatiha, which is na'budu, and we understood that as being a verb, number one. We understood that it was present tense, right, and that it was na'budu, which basically means we are worshipping, yeah, and the root is ayn, ba and da, yeah, so we understood that. Now the next bit is wa iyyaka nasta'in. So here we got the same word meaning and, you alone. Nasta'inu. Now I'm going to spend the whole lesson covering this because there's a lot of grammar in this word nasta'inu, and it's very relevant to put it just below na'budu, because one thing that I've taught you guys, or we've gone through, is that we've talked about verbs having 3 root letters. Yeah, and we've said that, there's abada, there's akala, dakhala, daraba, jalasa. All these have 3 letters, yeah? We have understood that. But if you look at nasta'inu, there are many letters, and because, as Arif quite rightly said, hands up, no shouting out, because it's the 10th root. So this is something that I want to introduce to you today. So na'budu, we understood as being a, ba, da, okay? Right, and this is the 3. This is what we call the basic root. All right, but in Arabic there are actually 10 commonly used derived roots, and what they contain ayn, ba, and dal. For example, in abada, but in the 10th root we have to add ista. No shouting outside here, please. Okay. Ista. Okay, so this is the bit that adds on to abada or fa'ala or jalasa. Okay, is that we add the ista. So so let's go to the basic roots that we talk about with fa'ala, because that's when we want to understand verbs. We always go back to fa'ala. All right, so fa'ala. Okay. So if we want to do a 10th root of fa'ala, it becomes istaf'ala. 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 Okay? Right? So this is the way, so you can easily recognize this as being the 10th root. Now, from the point of its meaning, if you want to look up in the dictionary, you don't look for ista. You look at the basic root. So you can work out that istaf'ala is the 10th derived root. I recognize the pattern. So you can separate ista from fa'ala. So in the dictionary, you still look at fa'ala. You go into the dictionary and it'll say this is the basic root. Then you say, I want to look for the 10th derived root for fa'ala because this is the 10th. And then you'll be able to find its meaning. Alright? So the question you might be asking, well, why are they derived roots? Well, the derived roots have a slight difference in the meaning. Alright? Slight difference in the meaning. Okay? When there's an ista, it's generally meant that you are seeking something. Alright? So if we were to say ghafara, which means he forgave. If we put istaghfara, he sought to be forgiven. He's seeking forgiveness. Yeah? So it's about seeking. So you've got the basic root and then you've got the ista. Okay? So istaf'ala. Alright? Now for nasta'inu, we have two issues here. One is that nasta'inu is coming from the 10th derived root. However, nasta'inu is the 10th derived root in the present tense. Right? This is past tense. Fa'ala meaning he did. Right? And if you want to make that into present tense, we say yaf'alu. Remember that? So from fa'ala to yaf'alu. Istaf'ala to yastaf'ilu. Istaf'ala to yastaf'ilu. Okay? So let's just do that to remind ourselves about the 10th root. Okay? So we'll do the basic one first for fa'ala. So fa'ala, he did. Fa'alu, they did. Fa'alta, you did. Fa'altum, you all did. Fa'altu, I did. Fa'alna, we did. Now if you want to do that in the 10th derived root, we go istaf'ala. Istaf'alu. Istaf'alta. Istaf'altum. Istaf'altu. Tis'af'alna. See? It's quite similar, but you've got the ista. Yeah? Ahmed? We'll do that later. Let's just learn the derived roots, yeah? So, if we want to go to present tense, so let's remind ourselves of present tense for the basic one, number one. So from fa'ala to yaf'alu, he is doing. Yaf'aluna, they are doing. Taf'alu, you are doing. Taf'aluna, you all are doing. Af'alu, I'm doing. Naf'alu, we are doing. Now we do it with the 10th derived root. So istaf'ala to yastaf'ilu. Yastaf'iluna. Tastaf'ilu. Tastaf'iluna. Astaf'ilu. Astaf'iluna. So, and the way to remember istaf'ala is what Uncle Mustafa said last time, which I think is a really good one, is astaghfiru. I seek forgiveness. Right? So from ghafara, right, we go from istaghfara to yastaghfiru. So yastaghfiru, he is seeking forgiveness. Yastaghfiruna, they are seeking forgiveness. Tastaghfiru, you are seeking forgiveness. Tastaghfiruna, you all are seeking forgiveness. Astaghfiru, I'm seeking forgiveness. Nastaghfiru, we are seeking forgiveness. Got it? Quite easy really, alhamdulillah. So this is the pattern for the 10th root. So really the only difference between the 10th root and the basic root from the letters is the ista. Yeah? So ista for the past tense and yes ta yesta for the present tense. So ista past and yesta for the present tense. Okay? So if we look at nasta'inu, right, we can see that it's nasta. So if it's nasta, so from yesta to nasta we are talking about we are doing something. Right? The second aspect I want you to look at for nasta'inu is, well, what is the root letters? Because this is another new principle we're going to learn today on verbs. Ashik.
Ayn and Noon.
Ayn and Noon. So Ashik says Ayn and Noon. Now, what did I say about generally with verbs? How many letters are there usually in verbs? 3. So where's the third one?
Because it's a weak verb.
Yes, it's a weak verb. Yes. So here, the actual third one in this particular is the ya. Alright? But that's not its basic root. If you want to find it in the dictionary, you won't find it by looking up Ayn and Noon. You will not find this word. You have to look at Ayn. No. You need to look at Wa and Noon. Right? This is its basic root letters. Right? Now, you're absolutely right. These type of verbs are called weak. And the reason they're called weak is because they either contain a wa, or a ya, or an alif in the 3 letters. If they contain any of these 3 letters, the verb becomes weak. Okay? And the reason it's called weak, you can think of, is because this middle letter changes. Right? So let me explain that to you how this changes, okay? So the one here is, we say Ayn, Wa and Noon. Okay? Now I'm going to give you another example which is very commonly used, and that is for Qala, he said. You'll see many times in the Quran, he said this, they said that. Qala has exactly the same pattern. It's got a qaf, it's got a wa, and it's got a lam. So it's a weak verb because it has a wa as its middle root letter. Okay? Qawala. So for that, so if you look in a dictionary, you have to look at qaf, wa and lam. Then you'll find its meaning. Now, if you want to put that into the past tense, it's not qawala. It actually becomes la. So the wa now changes to an alif. You see? It's changed already. Yeah? Whereas in fa'ala, from qawala, the root, it goes to qala. So the wa has changed to an alif in the he said. Right? And then it carries on. Qalu. Okay? Right? Then from qalu, it goes to qulta. So it's now even the alif is gone. Qulta, qultum, qultu, qulna. Right? Let's write these ones down, okay? So we can actually understand how these letters are changed, and that's why they're called weak verbs, yeah? So we have qalu, he said, and then we have lu, they said, okay? So you still got the alif, it's still there, here, lu, they said. However, when you want to say you said, it goes like this. Qulta. So what you see there is that now the middle letter has completely disappeared. It's weak. So it's like if you have somebody who's weak, right, in the running, you may not want to help them, so somebody else helps to push them along. So it was wa first, but when he went to qala, alif had to take over. Right? Alif carried on to qalu, but when he got to qulta, from qalu to qulta, it completely disappeared. So there's just qaf, lam and ta, qulta. Yeah? And then you have qultum. Yeah, so again, the middle letter is completely gone. Yeah, and then from qultu, same again. and then qulna. Okay? Okay? So the middle letters completely disappeared. Now, what happens in the present tense? Right? So we went from wa to alif to disappearing. So from qala we go to yaqulu. Right? And yaqulu in the present tense is like this. Yaqulu. So what you see here, so from qala, which had an alif, the word comes back again. Yaqulu. Right? Okay? So the word is back again, the middle letter is back again. And then it goes yaquluna. Taqulu. Taquluna. Aqulu. Naqulu. Okay? Now, the easy way to remember, you might ask, well, when do we know it's going to be an alif or a wa or a ya? There's an easy pattern to this. Right? Why there's a wa there is because the vowel before it is a dhamma. Right? So for a dhamma, you have a wa. Right? For a fatha, you have an alif. Right? And for a kasra, you have a ya. So yasta'inu, it's got a ya instead. You see that? Because it's ti, not ta. If it was yasta, then there would be it would be an alif. But because it's a kasra at the ta, yasta'inu. So yasta'inu. So the ayn before the ya is a kasra. So it's inu. There's a ya. If it was u, there would be a wa. Uno. But there's no dhamma. It's a yi kasra. You got it? So that's an easy way to remember how these weak verbs interact. Right? So you can see in qawala that it's the wa is the root letter in the middle. It disappears and changes to an alif in the past tense. It carries on from qalu to qalu, and then when it goes to qulta, it disappears completely. And then the wa comes back in the present tense. Right? This is a pattern that you will just recognize. Okay? And you have like qala, awana, okay? And another common pattern is for kana. Right? Which exactly has the same thing. And kana is a very common, and it kind of means to be. Yeah? Kun fayakun, for example. Be and it is. Yeah? Or it was. So that has the same pattern of kaf, wa and nun. As in awala and awana. Alright? Okay? So if we now go to awana, now that we know the pattern of qala, and it's worth remembering qala, because that is a common pattern with the wa in the middle. Alright? So we know awana, so we know then in the past tense, it must be, the wa must disappear. So it becomes na. Right? Okay? Na. Now we want to go to present tense. So from ana, we go to ya, or it could be, but I want now to actually convert this into the 10th root. Alright? So from ana, how do we make that into the 10th root now? This is, no, 10th root. From ana, which is Ista'inu. Yes. So ana is the basic. If I want to make that into the 10th root, I have to put ista. Alright, so ista, and then it's not inu, it's ana. Ista'ana. Right? This is putting it into the 10th root, past tense. Now from ista'ana to make it into present tense, how do I do that? What do I say then? Then the ta becomes ti. Yeah? So yasta'inu. So let's Yes. Da. I. No. So no. So ana to no. Yeah. So it's the not the da that goes to the kasra. It's the ain. No. So this goes to kasra in the present tense. So ista'ana to yasta'inu. Yeah. So from fatha ana to inu. Yeah. For the present tense. And therefore yasta'inu to we are helping, seeking help is nasta'inu. Yeah. So you can see how that works together, and it's a very common pattern that you'll see, like with nastaghfiru, we are seeking forgiveness, same pattern. Okay, but ghafara is not a weak verb. Okay, so iyyaka nasta'inu. So in summary, what we've learnt today is that we've come across two different types of verbs. The very first verb is abada na'budu, basic root number one verb. Okay. The second verb that we've come across in the Surah Fatiha is nasta'inu, and it has two characteristics. One is that it is a weak verb, number one, and it's a 10th root. Excellent. 10th root. Whereas na'budu is a standard verb. It's not weak, and it's from the basic root 1. It's not a weak verb, it's a standard verb, like fa'ala, jalasa, no, not nominative. Abada, jalasa, daraba, abada. Here it is a weak verb. Because why is it weak? Because its middle letter is a weak letter which keeps on changing, because it is a weak letter. Yes, right, and that's the pattern of a weak letter. That's why it's called weak. It's changing, it's not staying. So it's quite right to call it a weak letter, isn't it? Because it doesn't continue throughout all the different changes. Yeah, it swaps and changes. Either it's an alif or a wa or a ya, depending. Yeah. How do we know whether it would change to an alif or wa or ya?
The letter before the weak letter should have if it's fatha, it's alif. Then if it's kasra means it's ya, and dhamma means it's waw.
Correct. Exactly. I knew Ahmed was going to say that, but he just started. You're absolutely all right. Okay. So one way of knowing what will happen to this this alif wa or ya, depending on the letter before, what vowel it is on. If it's a kasra, it'll be ya. If it is a fatha, it'll be an alif after it, and if it's a dhamma, then there'll be a wa after it. So here, like in nasta'inu, because ain has a kasra before this middle letter, it has to be ya. But the root letter for nasta'inu is ain wa nun. Yeah, but you don't see any wa there because this ain before it is in kasra, so the wa changes to a ya. Simple. Okay, and we're going to come across many weak letters to come, and we'll keep reminding ourselves and seeing this similar pattern. So here we have a weak letter, and it's the 10th root. Now that means there are 9 other roots. We know 2 out of the 10. We know the basic root and we know the 10th root. In between there are 8 other roots. Okay, we'll come across them as we go through the Quran. And the common thing about these 10 roots is that they contain the basic letters, but they have things added to it, either before it or after it. But they have those basic 3 letters that you see in the basic root 1. So in fa'ala to 10th root istaf'ala, but it still has fa'ala in it, yeah? But it has ista as the prefix that makes it 10th root. Okay? So iyyaka nasta'inu. Now, are there any questions regarding this? Clear? Clear as mud? Yeah? Okay. So let's just go through the verses in the Quran where we come up to. So we've done Alhamdu lillahi. So alhamdu, the or all praises, lillahi, preposition lillahi belongs to Allah. Rabbil alameen. Now Rabbil alameen is a
adjective.
it's an adjective, but it's in an idafa construction, yeah? Rabb is the adjective, Rabbil Alameen is the idafa, noun 1 and noun 2. Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most merciful, most kind, these are two adjectives, yeah? Maliki, king, described is an adjective, Maliki, Yawmiddin, again, idafa, Maliki Yawmiddin, master of the day of judgment, yeah? Here then we go, Iyaka na'budu, and you learn we worship, wa iyyaka nasta'inu, okay, and you will learn we seek help, okay. I think we'll call it a day here. If there are any more questions, clarifications, please let me know now. Clear? Okay. Subhanaka wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.